What's going on, YouTube? In this video we're going to be talking about the full conceal folding Glock 43 frame. This particular example in the video is being sold as a frame and mag kit where you supply your own complete slide. Now when this first came out, before it came out, I didn't see any press releases or anything. I didn't know it was a thing until after it came out. Somebody posted something about it on Facebook and I saw it, and my initial reaction was that I just kind of immediately dismissed it. I thought to myself, okay, they took a factory Glock frame and they cut it at the top of the mag well, or at the top of the grip, and they hinged it. Right? I mean, it's kind of complicated, but it's kind of not. But looking at photos, my first impression just from the photos, I assumed that this whole hinge mechanism here and the trigger and everything else you see that they've added on, I assumed that all of that was polymer. And I also assumed that there was a lot of play and wiggle and that it would just kind of take away from what is the perfection of a Glock 43. I also assumed that this would be an item that the manufacturer would only sell direct to the public. And why that matters to me is, as a dealer, stuff like this, especially stuff that I don't plan to keep, if I'm going to buy it to do a video on it, I'm going to want to get it for dealer costs. That way I can resell it. It's never good business to pay retail for an item and then lose money when you sell it. So because of that, I just assumed that this would be something that one of my buddies may eventually get, and I'd be able to handle it, or maybe I'd go into a gun shop one day and there'd be one in there. But it just kind of, I immediately thought that it would not be something that I would have my hands on a few weeks later. Fast forward a few weeks later, and one of my distributors, one of the major firearm distributors that sells guns to dealers, sent me an email saying, hey, we now carry the full conceal Glock 43 frame. It comes with a magazine. Here's your price. How many do you want? So I ordered a couple, and I have spent some time handling this deal here and had it in my pocket and tried to get as much of a feel for it as I could. And I'm going to tell you my experience in this video. Now, first things first, like I said about this hinge mechanism here, I assumed it was polymer. It's not. I'm not 100% sure if it's aluminum or steel, but it's lightweight and it is made out of metal. It is loose. I know you can hear that, but there is some rattle to it. But it does not feel like something that it's just going to break. That was what I expected, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it's a little more quality parts and engineering than I expected. The flat trigger here definitely takes some getting used to if you're not used to that. And other than that, I mean, if you close your eyes, it does pretty much feel like a standard Glock 43, just with a little bit different of a base plate on the magazine, obviously. Now what that base plate is for is when you fold this thing shut, before you do so, you push the magazine all the way up in there, and that base plate will actually grip onto that trigger guard or hinge, and that's what keeps it closed in your pocket. Now this will work just fine with regular Glock 43 magazines. Obviously they're not going to have that base plate on there. You can buy these as a complete firearm. You can buy them as a frame with magazine, or you can actually send your firearm in and they will customize it like you see in the video here. I don't know if it's going to focus. It's getting kind of dark here. FC Arms, Las Vegas, Nevada. And this is just a factory Glock frame that they have converted into the folding deal. This is not a frame that they manufactured per se. So back to my first impressions. As far as opening and closing it goes, it's fairly easy. There's a big kind of a push-in hinge here. It's pretty easy to open. I don't know why you would want to fold this in the heat of battle or under, you know, extreme stress or anything. It may be kind of hard to locate this push-in here just because of how flush it sits. I'm going to try to zoom in. So it sits very flush. There's nothing just sticking out for you to push in, and that makes sense because while it's in your hand, you don't want to accidentally unhinge it. So there's that. The other thing I was concerned with, and this is one of the main reasons that I was turned off by the design, is I was afraid that as I was opening this that I would accidentally pull the trigger. And this is something that the company that makes this touts on their website, that, you know, you can carry this thing with a round in the chamber and it's perfectly safe to do so because it can't be fired when it's folded because the trigger is protected here. Okay, but where my problem lies, and we're gonna go ahead and cock that striker there. But so what I thought would happen is that as you unfold it, the trigger would then become exposed before the grip was fully unfolded into its, you know, its firing position here, and that you could accidentally have a negligent or accidental discharge from this trigger while you're unfolding it. Now, I'm sure, you know, if you own one of these or want to own one of these, you spend some time with it and get proficient, you could probably take this thing out of your pocket, unfold it, and be ready to fire very, very quickly and very safely. However, in this video, I just want to kind of show you here that as you unfold it and that trigger becomes exposed, if your finger or anything else is blocking that trigger and holding it back, as you unfold it, listen. That was the striker being released and the gun going boom, if it was loaded. So for me, that was a understandably major safety concern. That was a big turnoff. Now, I haven't looked as far into it to see, have they added some sort of engineering in here where even though it clearly sounds as if I just dry fired it, that the striker is somehow blocked because it's not completely folded. I don't think that is the case. Now, I personally am not willing to try it, half because this is not mine. Well, I mean, I guess it's mine, but I'm going to be reselling it and I don't want to fire it. And the other half is because that's just not something I care to play with. I'm sure if someone hasn't already done it on YouTube, they will eventually do it, and I'll watch that video. But for me personally, I don't plan on carrying this full conceal frame or keeping it, so it's just not something I'm interested in doing. So maybe this is something that when you see or when you feel in your pocket, you're not going to be able to live without. But for me, it's going to be a hard pass for two major reasons. One of them is that safety issue that I told you about a second ago with that trigger. And then the other one is that even though this thing folds, it's still the same weight and the same amount of gun in your pocket. Now, I tried carrying it around in my pocket like this, you know, straight up and down. I tried carrying it in my pocket like this, which obviously I did not like that barrel pointing up in the air, but I just wanted to give it a shot. And of course, I tried it, the tried and true way of carrying a gun in your pocket like this, which would be like this. For me, I prefer it this way. If I was to carry a Glock 43 in my pocket without a pocket holster or some kind of protection around that trigger guard, I would not carry with one in the chamber, but that's easy enough to fix with a good pocket holster or like a Kydex trigger guard. So maybe your experience is different with one of these. If you've had the opportunity to handle one, or maybe you own one, leave your experiences in the comments below this video. My video quality is diminishing as I'm losing light, so I may make another one of these videos and do a little more in-depth research that I can find from the forums of people's opinions and experiences with them that have actually owned them. and I'll do another update video. But like I said, for me personally, folding Glock is just not something that I'm looking to add to my personal collection at the current time. And you know, everyone has different things that they like and dislike, so this may be, you know, the best thing you've seen since sliced bread. So change my mind. Leave your comments below this video, whether you agree or disagree. As always, thanks for watching. We are past 20,000 subscribers at this point. I appreciate every single one of you. Y'all's viewership is what enables me to keep making these videos, so y'all keep watching, and if you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.